Good morning. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Minneapolis Audit Committee for Tuesday, October 28th. My name is Lene Palmisano, and I'm the chair of this committee. With me at the dais are the following committee members. We have Councilmember John Quincy, Park and Rec Board Commissioner Anita Tabb, Vice Chair Mark Oyas, and Mr. Scott Neal. Please let the record reflect we have a quorum. Colleagues, as you can see from our agenda, we have one item before us today. It's a presentation from the State Auditor's Office on our Management and Compliance Report. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. The agenda is adopted. Before we move into today's presentation, we need to accept the minutes from our last meeting on October 6th. This is a little different than the way our other council committees run. So I will move adoption of those minutes. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. The minutes are adopted. Colleagues, we have before us the State Auditor's Management and Compliance Reports. This report was initially delivered to the city on June 23rd, and the results were presented to Councilmember Quincy as Chair of Ways and Means, members of our Finance Department who are here today, and myself. I was encouraged to find the report contained a positive assessment of the city and improvements from prior years. I do want to mention that our committee is charged by ordinance with reviewing reports from the state auditor, but the report followed a slightly different path given all the work surrounding the restructuring of the audit function in our committee earlier this year. So I want to thank the auditor's office staff, Ms. Erickson, for returning to brief the full committee to this report. So here to present the state findings is Ms. Stephanie Erickson. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair Palmisano and members of the Audit Committee. My name is Stephanie Erickson, and I'm with the State Auditor's Office. I'm here to present the results of our audit for the City of Minneapolis and the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. Before I get started, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the city's Finance and Property Services staff, as well as the Park Board Finance staff, and the rest of the city staff and Park Board staff for their cooperation with us during our audit. Because there's some new members here to the Audit Committee, from the last time that I presented, I thought I'd go through just an overview of what our audit entails. First of all, for the City and the Park Board audit, we do audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America. Standards for financial audits contained in the Government Auditing Standards, which is issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. The Single Audit Act Amendments of 1996, the provisions of the Office of Management and Budget, OMB Circular A-133, and also with the legal provisions for the Minnesota Legal Compliance Guide for political subdivisions. So we incorporate all that into our audit. The first stage of our audit is our planning stage, and in this stage we would perform risk assessments. We would update our understanding of significant accounts and transaction cycles. We would also perform internal control and legal compliance testing. We meet with management and governance at the beginning of the audit, and then we also plan our single audit, which is the audit of the federal award programs. After the planning stage, we do test those significant balances for accounts and transaction cycles. We do audit the individual funds of the city and as well the Park Board. We would complete our federal program audits. We would audit the financial statements and the note disclosures and all the other contents of the city's comprehensive annual financial report and the Park Board's annual financial report. We hold progress meetings with management on a regular basis to update them on our progress of our audit and update them on any findings we have as we go along. After our audit is complete and during our wrap-up or our audit on-site, then we go into our wrap-up phase. At this time, we would communicate with attorneys to see if there's any litigation that needs to be disclosed in the city's or Park Board's financial statements or in their note disclosures. We prepare and send out the management representation letter that a member of the governance and management would sign. We finalize our findings to be included in our management and compliance report, and then our audit goes through our office's quality control review process. We also meet with management and governance to go over the draft documents before they're issued, which would include the findings in our management and compliance report. So now to focus on the results of the city's audit. When we finish our audit, we issue several different documents that include summarizations of our audit. And one of the first summaries we provide is what we call our required communication letter. So auditing standards require that we communicate with governance. So this is our letter that we send out. It is accompanied by our management and compliance report. And for the cities, it was sent to City Finance and Property Services Management, Governance, which would be City Council, including the audit committee members. And like I said, that is sent out with our management and compliance report. This letter explains any new accounting standards that were implemented during the year, any estimates that are included in the financial statements, and if there were material audit adjustments, that's identified in this letter as well. We also issue our opinion, which is included in the city's comprehensive annual financial report and in the Park Board's annual financial report. For the city, we issued an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion. It's the best opinion that can be issued. It does state that financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. And then our opinion is included in the city's CAFR. The next document that we issue is our management and compliance report, and as I mentioned, that's emailed to city management and to city council and audit committee members. We also provide that to grantor agencies as required for those agencies that pass through money to the city of Minneapolis and or the Park Board. Part of this report is our summary of findings and question cost, and again, it's a high-level summary of the audit. It states in there about our opinion on the financial statements, which I already said that it was an unmodified opinion. It also includes our opinion on the federal award programs that we audited. So for the city, we were able to issue an unmodified opinion on all of the programs we audited except for one. Those federal program audits that we did are listed in that management and compliance report. There were probably 6 or 7 that we did that are listed in there. This summary also includes whether there were significant deficiencies or material weaknesses noted in the city's financial statements. It has the listing, like I said, of the federal award programs, and then it also lists the city's low-risk auditee status, which comes into play during our single audit. After this summary in our report, we include our findings on internal controls, federal award programs, and legal compliance findings. Every year we look at these findings and we do update them. So if the city and or the Park Board has made any changes, we do update those if we can't fully resolve them. In our report, city management has provided responses to those findings, and we have gone over those at our exit meetings with management and governance at that time too. We know that the city takes these findings very seriously, and they work very hard throughout the rest of the year to try and resolve these findings or work towards resolving these findings. And like I said, we're required to follow up on those in our next audit. So at the beginning of our audit, we do start looking at those findings again, and we do request from management a summary schedule of prior audit findings, which gives their update on the status on the federal award program findings. Our report also includes 2 letters. One is a report on internal controls. The other letter is a report on compliance for each major federal award program. Both letters give definitions for what is considered a deficiency, a significant deficiency, or a material weakness, and it will also list out which findings are classified as which, whether it's a significant deficiency or material weakness. And then our report also includes the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. The schedule is also included in the city's report, their financial report, and the Park Board's report, but we include it again. It's a listing of all the federal award programs that the city has received and spent during the year that we've audited. Once all this is done and issued, then we also submit our report to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse for the single audit requirements. So that report has to be received by the Federal Audit Clearinghouse 30 days after the city's opinion date or the Park Board's opinion date. So we issue, or we send in our management and compliance report as well as a listing of all the federal award programs that the city received, whether there were any findings and which ones were audited as major programs or not. As far as the Park Board goes, I did meet with the Park Board management and Commissioner Tab at the exit meeting for the Park Board, and then I also presented to the Park Board in full in July of this year. So as with the city, we do issue the same type of documents for the Park Board's audit. We issued the required communication letter required by auditing standards. That was sent to Park Board management and governance, which is the commissioners of the Park Board. And at that time, they also receive our management and compliance report. Their letter again explains any new accounting any new accounting pronouncements that were, implemented, any estimates that were included in the financial statements, and then if there were material audit adjustments or not relating to their audit. The Park Board's opinion was unmodified as well on their financial statements. Again, it's the clean opinion and the best that can be issued, and the Park Board includes that in their annual financial report. We do issue a separate management and compliance report for the Park Board audit as well. It contains the same items that the city report has, so it has our summary of our audit findings, whether they were significant deficiencies included in our report or material weaknesses, the opinions on the financial statements and the federal award programs. For the Park Board, we issued an unmodified opinion on both the financial statements and the federal award programs. Any findings we have in the Park Board's report have been provided. The management has provided a client response to us. Again, we look at that in the next year's audit as we're required, and we'll follow up on those findings to see whether they can be resolved or whether they can just be changed to show what progress has been made. We also include those two same letters in the Park Board's report, one on internal controls and the other on federal programs. And again, it would define deficiencies, significant deficiencies, material weaknesses, and which findings we classified as which type. It includes their schedule of expenditures of federal awards again, and then we also submit that information to the Federal Clearinghouse too for their single audit. We did audit the Municipal Building Commission in conjunction with our City of Minneapolis audit. They also received a required communication letter at the end of our audit. It went to their management and their board along with our management and compliance report. It explains the same information, any new accounting standards, any estimates, and whether they had significant material audit adjustments or not. As it's being audited with the city, they received an unmodified opinion as well on their financial statements. And MBC did not require a single audit, so we did not have to audit any federal programs related to MBC. We also issue our management and compliance report for the MBC, and that was emailed to MBC management, MBC board, city management, and city council. And because they do not have a single audit, they only had the letter on internal controls that we reported on. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Erickson. Are there questions or comments from the committee? Commissioner Tabb?
I guess I would just be interested, I'm sure the burning question we all have. There was one federal program that didn't have an unmodified opinion, so I would just be interested to know which one that was.
I can dig that up. For the city, the program that did not receive an unmodified opinion, it received a qualified opinion, and that was the Highway Planning and Construction Grant.
And have we finished that? Is that grant complete now?
That grant is an ongoing grant, so the city usually receives funding for that every year. And because it had a modified opinion, we are required to audit that program again this year. So we will be following up on that again this year. And depending on what we find, we're hoping for an unqualified opinion on that program for 2014.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments? Great. Well, Ms. Erickson, thank you, and I appreciate you'll be meeting with our Director of Internal Audit, Mr. Tetzel, also today. May I have a motion to receive and file these reports? Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to receive and file the 2013 State Audit Management and Compliance Reports before you today. All those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. These reports will be received and filed. I do want to call attention, Ms. Erickson, the full reports of the Audit Committee are on the state website.
Yes, on our state auditor's website, all reports that we issue are listed there.
I just wanted that to be noted. With that, colleagues, we've completed all the items on our agenda, so seeing no further business to be presented, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.